God's Nomen, B'Shem Hashem. The day after Yom Kippurim, I think it's from the Ba'al Shem Tov, is called B'Shem Hashem, God's Nomen. Now there's a lot of Hasidus on the significance of this. It's not just an allusion or a Gleichwertel. The Nekuda is that there are 4 days between Yom Kippurim and Sukkot, and it corresponds to the 4 letters of Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Each day is a different letter. And the Inyan is, let me just fix this camera, that in Chassidus Chabad, they explain, this is of course the source of it is primarily the Kocha from the Rebbe Marash, but like everything else, the Rebbe Marash said it once, the Rebbe said it 100 times, in 100 different ways, that Tishrei, which begins with Elul, and it ends with Simchas Torah and Shabbos Bereishis and Zayin Cheshvan, is a mountain that you climb and then you climb down. The peak, of course, is Ne'ilas Yom Kippurim, which was last night, and then begins the V'Yakev Holach L'Darkei. Like it says in the Rebbe Marat, V'Yakev Holach L'Darkei is Matzah Yom Kippurim, and the Rebbe brings it in the Sichos of Tafshin Lamed Ches, which we're learning the Maimorim of Tafshin Lamed Ches. You know, in Chabad, in convention, Yaakov Halach Darkei is after Simchas Torah. But in Avodah, Yaakov Halach Darkei begins after Yom Kippur. Because till Yom Kippur you're climbing, and the focus is on Tshuva. And the truth of the matter is, the way it says in Chassidus, and of course this is how it's explained by Arichas and the Vakocha, the focus isn't even on mitzvahs maisis, it's just on Tshuva. You're going away from yourself to do Tshuva, and of course, as you know, Tshuva doesn't only mean to go away from Aveda, which has to do with Hachlatas Tevis, Kabbalah Lahabo. That's the most basic part of Tshuva. Shalayosh Avoid Lekisla, that I won't do it again. But the focus is on the relationship with Kadosh Baruch Hu, that we call Tshuva Ilah. And after Yom Kippur begins mitzvahs. Like it says in Chazal, that till the first day of Sukkot, you're so busy with mitzvahs, there's no chance even to do an Aveda. And mitzvahs is shoiv, right? You don't get close to Hashem and then just walk away. You get close to Hashem, the maximum of that is Matzah Yom Kippurim, and you take that down into your regular life, into your Avodah B'Chol Mamish, which ultimately means Kiyum HaMitzvahs, learning Torah but doing mitzvahs. And of course, not everybody has a life that you could call Shabbos. You know, a Talmud Chacham is called Shabbos. That's why he wears a long beged rather than a short beged, because a long beged is not comfortable for Asiyas Malocha. Most people have to go out into the real world and to make a living and to be involved in Uvdin Dechoil. And that's the Taich V'Yakev Holach L'Darkei. But you take with you the Hisoidus, the Tshuva of the Yom Neroyim, and before that the Melech Basodeh, and the Chedesh of Tshuva, and Yud Beis Yomim between Chayel and Rosh Hashanah and the Yemei HaSlichas. You take it into our life. In other words, the key of today is how it continues the Sederus of the Yom Neroyim and the Sederus Yemei Tshuva and Yom Kippurim. Like the famous expression, the Rebbe once told a story by Fabrengen about how Italy was a backwards country. Italy was a backwards country. And it wasn't Germany. Things didn't always run on time. So there was the train was a new thing, the steam engine was a new thing. And one of the Rebbeim was in Italy, and he went to see the train. Or maybe he was in Italy anyway, and he was by a train station. And there was a locomotive. It's not like today that you have electricity running through all the cars. It was a locomotive that was an engine of steam. And it pulled an incredible force, right? Millions of horsepower. And they lit a fire. They threw in coal, and the water was made into steam, which turned the turbines, which made the locomotive move. But they forgot to couple the locomotive with the wagons, with the wagonen. So the locomotive took off, left the station, and all the wagons remained staying in their place. And the Rebbe Rashab learned to hear off from this, that you have to see to it that the mefzubin in the kop mit den guf. If you have a head, and the head is not connected to the body, the Rebbe said the Lashon, es kann a fire, es kann pfeifen, es kann gehen a reach. Und the wagonen bleiben stehen auf der Ort. The locomotive can be fiery and stormy, and there is steam coming out of the engine, and the wagons remain in their place. And the Lashon Chazal, Bosa Reisha Gufa Ozil, that the body is supposed to follow the head. And this is, of course, the challenge of the day after. It's the challenge of the day after Rosh Hashanah. It's the challenge of the day after Yom Kippurim. I'm sure you saw this in the Machzor. Mochras Yom Kippurim Machzirim Mashkimim LeBeis HaKnesses. Day after Yom Kippur, you go to daven early. Now, I don't know what the kavanah is. I certainly don't know what's the kavanah pnimis. But bepashtus, you davened. And you spent 24, 26 hours in shul. Or you spent most of that time in shul. Saying Tilim, and learning Chassidus, and learning Nigle, and talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then when it comes to Yom Kippur at the end, you go home, you eat. You're exhausted, obviously, and you go to sleep. And you could wake up in the morning, and it's like it says by the Kikoyin, Bin Laila Hoya, Bin Laila Over. Yom Kippur is over, and the whole Seder is past. The Friedrich Rebbe used to say about American Jews, they heizen sich schnell on, and they killen sich also schnell up. American Jews get very easily inspired, and they just as quickly lose interest. That's not allowed to happen. And that's the concept of the day after. B'Shem Hashem. Today's is Yud. And tomorrow is Hey. Tomorrow is also the yahrzeit of the Hilik and Malach, Rabbi Avraham the Malach, the Rebbe of the Alter Rebbe, the son of the Maggid. And of course the idea is that you bring down, you take with you the Yesodidus, the inspiration of Yechida, which you have on the Aseret Yemei Tshuva and Yom Kippurim into life, which means Ma'aseh B'Peil Mamish, Mitzvahs Ma'asiyos. The security and the certainty and the continuity and the sustaining of the Yesodidus is mitzvahs ma'asiyos. Why are mitzvahs so important? Because they keep the inspiration. And without the mitzvahs ma'asiyos, the inspiration doesn't last. And this is why you have to have mitzvahs. And beginning with sukkahs, there's mitzvahs. There's the lulav, there's the sukkah, there's the arava, there's the simchas beis hasheyeva, and v'chulu. So that's the B'Shem Hashem, and that's the pshat in the famous story, which is brought in the Rebbe's letter from the early years, where the day after Yom Kippur, the Friedrich Rebbe went into his father, the Rebbe Rashab, and he said, Tatu, was is jetzt? Was is itzte? In other words, they did tshuva, Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Aseret Yemei Tshuva, Yom Kippurim, what's now? So the Rebbe Rashab said, itzte daf nesh tshuvata. Now you have to first do tshuva. And of course, the pshat is not to be Marash Chayre and to say that the whole tshuva was munished and start from the beginning again. It's a different kind of tshuva. It's called the tshuva of sheiv, not the tshuva of rotzah, where you're connecting yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the tshuva of sheiv, where you're bringing that into your regular life. And this is called B'Shem Hashem, God's Nomen. It begins today, that you're bringing it down. And maybe should help us all that in Mitzah Hashem or Be'ezer Hashem, we had a Yesodidus tshuva miti. And of course, the point of tshuva is that our lives should be lived in the spirit, practically, in the spirit and in the behavior and in the parameters and the control, in the containment of Yiddishkeit. And of course, we know and we're taught, and it has to be said again and again and again, we're free. We're free in our being particular about learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, the way the Eibishter says, even though it seems to control us. But in that framework, we find real chaydos, because it emancipates us from the Yetzer Hara and from weakness and from a lack of self-control and all the other midas rois that we don't call midas rois, we call them mili taiva, unfortunately.